Well, with the big reopening tomorrow, doctors are said to be braced for an increase in the numbers of people arriving at A&E departments. The warning comes from the Royal College of Emergency Medicine, and Dr. Katherine Henderson joins me now. Dr. Henderson, thanks so much for talking to us. We found out about half an hour ago that the pubs will reopen at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. Will that add to potentially the woes in A&E tomorrow?
I flinched slightly when I heard that, but I hope that that won't mean that people will actually be drinking from 6, because, as your piece said, that might mean social distancing is reduced by lunchtime. I think pubs and restaurants are going to be really sensible. They want to stay open. They do not want this to become a really difficult situation and for there to be lots of bad publicity for them. They're going to be being as careful as they can, I'm sure. If we can encourage the public to also bear in mind that the health service is just carrying on. We've had a really difficult few months. Everyone is pretty tired. We'd all quite like to be going out for a drink in the pub as well, but we're actually having to think about putting on extra staff for this weekend because of the concerns. That doesn't really sit very well with me.
I mean, do you think there's a chance that the public may forget what it is that the NHS and your frontline staff have had to go through the last few months and simply go back to normal, potentially drink too much and end up having to use your services once again because of alcohol?
I think we have to remember that there are a lot of members of society who have lost relatives in this pandemic. There are people whose families have been devastated by somebody dying of COVID. I think they're going to be pretty annoyed if they see their neighbours or even their friends behaving in a way that risks there being a second spike and risks putting more pressure on the NHS, which is, as I said, quite tired, a little bit fragile, and trying to work out how to provide safe care to the patients who need us, vulnerable patients who've not got an option to be going down the pub because they're still shielding. Those patients need us to be able to provide them safe care, and we need an emergency department that is safe for those patients.
And that's the problem, isn't it? You've got two things to deal with here. Potentially people, drinking too much and ending up with you guys, but also the frontline staff have to deal with that COVID risk, which is still very much a risk.
The people who are going to be out and going to pubs and restaurants are younger people. These are people who are less affected, less likely to come to harm, but might well be asymptomatic carriers. So we've got this complex game that we're having to do at the moment of keeping our departments safe for everybody, safe for vulnerable patients, safe for people who've injured themselves through no fault of their own. But what we don't need is people who are simply drunk but haven't looked after themselves, or their friends have abandoned them, needing an ambulance, ending up in an A&E department. It's just not acceptable.
OK, well, Dr. Katherine Henderson, thanks so much for talking to us this afternoon.
Thank you.